The Department of Education unveiled its Learning Through Sports initiative last night, and thankfully, millions of Americans now accidentally know that UK beat the Irish.
I'm Irish. That was a really good joke.
It's time to
Wake up, college basketball.
Welcome back to Wake Up College Basketball, presented by Samsung and the colorful, vibrant SUHD TV set. John, we're here to talk about the first half of the Elite Eight and the second half that's going to happen later today. We're going to talk about all the awesome, unexpected, and meaningful things that have happened and will happen. So let's start with you. Saturday's games, two really exciting sets that went down to the wire. What would you say was the most awesome thing from yesterday?
Well, if you like free throws and three-pointers,
Sure.
The Wisconsin-Arizona game was incredibly cool. We saw two things that we actually haven't seen in the tournament in at least 5 years. One of them was that both teams shot 30 or more free throws, which is kind of crazy. Arizona hit 28 of their 30 for like a 93% make rate, which is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
But they still lost, so don't worry about making your free throws. It just doesn't matter.
Good lesson to learn.
You know, and the other thing was if you like three-pointers, Wisconsin shot a ton of them. They shot 18, they made 12 of them. That's a 67% make rate, which that's another thing that hasn't happened in the tournament in at least 5 years with that with that number of shots.
It's nice to see that some teams can actually shoot the three-pointer so effectively, because you see a lot of teams that just jack up 15 three-pointers a game, and you're like, hey, 2 of them went in, great, good job doing things on accident.
Yeah.
So let's stay on the three-point shot and talk about today's Duke-Gonzaga game.
Sure.
Because I think a lot of people are going to focus on the play down in the post. For rightfully so. Gonzaga has a couple of really talented big men, as they showed in the last round. Duke's obviously got Jahlil Okafor, who is, with the exception of the last round, almost unstoppable.
He's in God mode.
But I think the real question of this game is going to be who gets hot from behind the arc. You've got Kyle Wiltshire, the very rangy 6'10 transfer from Kentucky for Gonzaga. And he creates an interesting matchup problem because he can shoot the three really well. So what do? Do you put a smaller man on him who can, guard him, who will stay on him on the perimeter but then get beat down low? Or do you put somebody a little bigger who isn't used to defending that far away from the paint? And then on the other side of the ball, you've got Quinn Cook, who can also just start getting on these little hot spates for Duke. And I think that's maybe where this game is going to turn. Watch me be completely wrong and it just all be decided by big men doing their things down low.
Well, sure. It would be great to see Duke finally do something in the NCAA tournament, take down the big Zags.
A real Cinderella story.
Sure.
What about unexpected from yesterday? I mean, I think I know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
I think everybody, this is the most obvious thing, but like Notre Dame hanging with Kentucky, which was kind of crazy. Yeah. Notre Dame, we knew Notre Dame was good, but we've been hearing about Kentucky all year. The Irish's best rebounder was Pat Connaughton. He is 6'5". Every member of the UK starting 5 was taller than him.
Yeah.
And yet he still managed to get 9 rebounds, and they hung with them. I believe it was, Notre Dame had 28 rebounds, Kentucky had 29. So it was like they were hanging there with him. It was just like Kentucky happened to make the free throws at the end of it and managed to pull away. One thing I did love, though, was that John Calipari after the game was asked, hey, was this the biggest test y'all have had all season? He said, quote, "No, we have had other tests. This is another test." That's kind of BS.
Oh,
that's kind of crappy,
can't give
dude.
any credit at all.
Come on, buddy.
No, it's just like Hercules being like, yeah, I beat up a lion, but the other day I had to help my mother move. So
just
they're all different tests in life.
The surly 14-year-old.
For some reason, Hercules in my mind lives on Staten Island. I don't know why.
That works. I haven't been there yet.
I think that's historically accurate.
Sure.
Unexpected from sort of a bigger picture. So we started this tournament, a crazy first day of the tournament. We had 2 big upsets. We had a lot of games go right down to the wire, and it felt like, this is going to be maybe like last year where nothing is what you expect and all these crazy seeds advance that nobody saw coming. it hasn't really worked out that way. Right
Yeah.
now, we've got 2 number 1 seeds into the Final Four. They got there by beating a 2 and a 3 seed. Today, we're going to have another one play another 2. Now, we have one big exception in one region where the 1 and the 2 and the 3 are all out. But this is kind of working out to be a chalkier tournament than we thought. This is potentially going to be the first time we've got 3 number 1 seeds in the Final Four since 2008. It's just sort of interesting because, with one exception who we're going to talk about, there hasn't been that, like, I don't know, maybe 5 to 8 seed range, that team that just gets super hot, tears through the tournament, beating opponents that they're not supposed to beat.
This is kind of the year of the establishment.
Right. Which I guess if you're the NCAA, good on you, because now you get to say, hey, we seeded it right. We didn't really rob anybody or criminally overseed anybody.
Sure.
Congratulations, you win again.
Yay.
NCAA, pat yourself on the back with a handful of $100 bills.
Did everything right again.
As always. So let's talk about the one exception to the chalk. Let's talk about Louisville-Michigan State squaring off today. A game I don't think many people had as an Elite Eight matchup in their brackets.
No.
You're a Louisville fan, so what is it that will mean the most for Louisville if they're going to advance to the Final Four?
Well, first, it's actually pronounced Louisville.
Okay, thank you.
And second,
It's Louis V, right?
Louisville.
Right.
Yes. It's actually the first matchup Rick Pitino has had against Tom Izzo since 3 years ago, also in the NCAA tournament in the Sweet 16 round. Izzo ended up falling short 57-44. That was the year Louisville actually ended up losing to Kentucky. The biggest change, obviously, there's been an overhaul of rosters since then. The main thing that Pitino has now that he didn't is Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah.
Harrell is amazing. He's basically the first, basically sure thing NBA player since Gorgie Jang that Louisville has had. He's 6'8", he's, I believe, 240. He can rebound, and in the last couple of years, he's added a mid-range jumper, which if you do not guard him, he will totally sink like a 17, 18-footer on you.
Right, and for somebody who has that kind of shooting range, there's at no point do you watch Montrezl Harrell play and say, oh, he's kind of getting pushed around. He's kind of like he's not one of those big men who's just like, yeah, I'm tall.
Yeah.
Do I have to bang in the paint now? he does not play that way.
Oh, not at all.
On the other side of this matchup, Michigan State, one of the best passing teams during the regular season, had an assist rate of something like 65%, somewhere close to that. And they have done one thing really well in this tournament and one thing pretty poorly, I would say. The thing they've done well is they've defended the 3-ball. Nobody's made more than 4 3-pointers against them in a game in the tournament. And if you can say, we're going to limit what you can, those big shots you can make that cut a 8-point lead real fast, that I think helps you really not let a game get out of control and maintain a lead. What they have not done so well is stop other teams from getting offensive rebounds. And that hasn't hurt them so far, obviously, but Louisville is one of those teams that you kind of think, well, if you give them a lot of second chance opportunities, that's where they can potentially beat you because, you play strong defense for the duration of the shot clock. They get a rebound, they put it right back in.
Sure, Harrell could be trouble, especially for them.
Yes, so exciting to see how that one plays out. Unfortunately, no matter what happens today, there are going to be sad fans, John. And that means there are going to be sad kids.
Oh, no.
Like this sad Notre Dame child. It's tough to watch. You hate to see a small child disappointed, so young.
I think it's sad that they made him play in the game. He's way too short.
No,
You're just going to disappoint him.
He's just a fan.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So
never mind.
Now you don't care that he's sad?
He's fine. Yeah.
Okay, good.
He's not my kid.
We can't prove that for the record. This has been, as always, Wake Up College Basketball, brought to you by Samsung and the SUHD television. We're going to be here after every other round of the tournament, which we're running out of them very quickly.
Sure.
I hope we can just add 3 more rounds just for fun. Let's start playing the third place game again.
Maybe we can just take the champion and just divide them up into little teams until eventually it's just a series of one-on-one tournament.
It's just a one-on-one tournament. Take our advice, NCAA. Until you listen to us, we will see you later.